Joining me live now is former Commander of Land Forces in the Australian Army, retired Army Major General Gus McLachlan, now a Bondi Partner Senior Advisor. Gus, thanks as always for your time. A crucial call, as Trudy previewed there, between Trump and Putin. For any peacekeepers to go to that part of the world, there has to be peace to be kept in the first place.
Yeah, a lot of steps to go through, Kieran, before we have peace. I think what we're most likely to see first is some sort of ceasefire or truce. And we've seen around the world in different conflicts that those truce agreements can be in place for many, many years. I mean, technically, there is a truce in place between North and South Korea, for example, for a war that finished in the mid-1950s. So the first step is to get them to stop firing at each other and to stop the loss of life. But the much harder issue to resolve is troop withdrawal, who is going to be responsible for what territory and what agreements are in place about how to enforce any breaches. So plenty of work to go yet, Kieran.
Pretty much for your entire career, we've had that security umbrella of the US security guarantor. What have you made of developments over the last week? Keir Starmer, that summit of world leaders, including Prime Minister Albanese, trying to form a coalition sort of separate or parallel to what the US is doing.
Yeah, look, I'm in shock. I think a lot of people like me who spent the vast majority of their career in national security being able to assume that the United States had a consistent foreign policy, that it was going to continue to support alliances and partnerships. We're not clear if that's the case. Now, I'm not completely alarmist about that. We haven't seen the United States fully tested in terms of one of its allies, but I know that countries like South Korea and Japan and Australia are going to have to consider what their ability to achieve independent deterrence of aggression looks like. And we know that that's going to be expensive, and it potentially leads to things like breakout of nuclear proliferation again as countries develop their own nuclear weapons. Now, Starmer, I think, has shown pretty good leadership, Kieran, in pulling together what looks to be a coalition of up to 30 countries. They have a big job on their hands, however. They're going to need a peacekeeping force of at least 30,000 soldiers. There's a very long front line between Russia and Ukraine. And of course, both sides have very significant combat capability that if the truce broke down, there would be very significant risk to peacekeepers, rockets, artillery, drones, etc. So I think it's very promising that Starmer and Macron are coordinating the development of a stabilisation force, but we've got a long way to go.
And you spoke about the risks. Are there not... obviously, it's a risky situation, even if there is peace achieved in the short term. Are things like mines, landmines, something that any peacekeeping force would have to be well aware of going into that territory?
Yeah, there will be hundreds of thousands of mines in this border area, and particularly the disputed areas where peacekeepers would be operating. I also think there's an issue of trust in relation to who can be trusted not to breach the ceasefire agreements, and it might even be local commanders who perceive risks to themselves. So any peacekeeping force that's on the ground will have to be in heavily protected vehicles, as you say, from the blast or mine effect. The Bushmaster vehicle is a fantastic vehicle for that type of threat, but also with the risk of drones and artillery and rockets recommencing, a force would want to be under reasonably strong armoured protection as well.
Gus McLachlan, retired Army Major General, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kieran.